Hello everybody. I want to share a little bit more of the journey that Sable and I have been on in retraining her and trying to be a little bit more open-minded about, the whole riding situation. And as you could see in my previous videos, we've been pretty much starting over just due to the pretty persistent resistance that I encountered with her. And the resistance was mostly in opposition to really going forward, not liking anybody on their backs and even on the ground, pretty much not having a whole lot of fun and joyfulness in her. And in cases like that where I, encounter that level of, joylessness, so to speak, I at some point just decide to start over, and so that's what we've been doing. I've been working on the ground with her, lunging on the surcingle. Now we've been graduating to the lunging with the saddle on her. I have the stirrups down and they're tied underneath her belly next to the girth so that she can feel that there's some kind of movement on the sides of her torso, which is, one of the major things where horses are so, or major areas where horses are so sensitive. There are so many nerve endings there. And if they have been if they've been taught inadvertently by incorrect training to just tune out all those little impulses that we riders want to give them later, it's just a real problem. So we have to start over and saying, hey, we're not doing anything harsh, but there is going to be something there. So I'm going to put her into a little bit of a trot. Today my goal is to just do a little bit of trot and perhaps canter, and then if that goes well, I might just sit on her for a little bit at the end of it, and that would be the first day of me sitting on her in a while, and we'll see how all of that goes. So my goal is to just go into a regular trot and trot, good girl. So trot always with the goal of relaxation, regular rhythm, even when it's slow in the beginning. And as I've mentioned in my previous videos, that Sable is very opposed to the side reins, so I've decided to do the lunging with more from my body language and teaching her to stretch forward, downward, just off of the engagement of her hind end with this little bit of a swooping or swiping motion of my whip while holding a fairly elastic and constant contact to the front of her, to her mouth, so that she can find that there is actually something that she can lean on a little bit while I'm asking her, to step underneath herself with my whip, with my body language. I'm staying behind her shoulder axis. And this is actually quite nice. I have the line not too long so that she can feel my energy. And I'm trying to be as elastic and as, giving as I'm walking with her so that I never really pull on her mouth. There you go, good girl. And it's not a lot of stuff that I want to do with her today. I don't want to go into like a big aerobic workout. It's just a few rounds of trot to each side like she's doing now. And I just basically want to see if, she's still in a good, agreeable mood with me. So stretching a little bit. I'm going to change directions here, not to drag anything out for too long. And my underlying notion is always I have to have a really good idea. I have to have a real good focus on what my objective is all the time, and whether it's a little bit of stretching, just a little bit of, leisurely trotting, almost a jog on the lunge line. I have to know that, then I have to work towards that with her. And if I just glaze over and just say, oh yeah, just trot around for a few rounds here, it will make itself known. The horse will also go into it sort of numb, glanced or glazed over way of moving, just going through the motions, but not paying attention to the details that we're actually wanting to improve, right? So, and we're going to go back into a trot. And trot, Sable. Come, good girl. Out, out, out. So, good girl. So, come. Yeah, good girl. So, and again, with her, with Sable, we have days when everything is very smooth and she's like, okay, we're going to do all of this today. And then there are days when it's a little bit more hesitant. And then there are days when there's actually a real bit of opposition coming through. And that is always something that you have to take into consideration on, the best days when sometimes I wish I had the camera here and I don't always have it with me. It's hard to sometimes demonstrate exactly all these perfect little pieces, but I'm just trying my best, just like it would be for everybody else. I get a nice little release in the jaw here, the occasional stretching, and that's really all I want. And even in this relaxed, fairly slow, mellow trot, I get a much nicer tracking up of the hind legs toward the front footprints than when we started out. So I'm always looking at the whole picture, So a lot less swishing of the tail. The ears are open forward and the eyes are somewhat mellow looking. There's a nice release in the jaw again. So, good. And walk. So, and then I'm going to change directions again. Like I said, I don't want a whole lot of aerobic working and, getting the adrenaline going. I just want a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Just so that when I get on at the very end, it's not like she thinks, oh my God, I already worked so hard and now this one has to sit on me. You just always have to put things into small, digestible pieces for the horse, especially when you're trying to overcome, anticipation of negative things and situations. Give her a little moment here. And then we're going to go into the trot again. And trot, Sable. Good girl. So, good girl. Come. So. And I'm going to ask her to stretch again a little bit. Yeah, good girl. So, there you go. Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff going on the other side of the arena today, so she's a little bit distracted from all of that, and I give her that. But look at that. That's a nice little stretch and activity. Very nice. And I'm going to go ask her to go up into the canter here in a moment. And pass auf. Good girl. And pass auf. And canter. Come. Yeah. There is quite a bit of energy there for a moment. Good. But then she kind of put herself back onto the correct lead, which is fantastic. I love that, And trot. So, and walk. So this is what I mean by checking sort of the temperature. Even if there's a little bit of a moment of exuberance in the canter, I am able to come through with my voice commands from trot to walk out of the canter, which is what we've been doing and which is what is so very important, that you have that in place, that the horse is not so stressed out that they can't hear you. And I'm just going to do it one more time here. See if we can get it one more time. And trot. Good girl. So, and as I always say, the third gate up, I'm not going to say the word right now, is always connected for most horses with a little bit of excitement. It's also the gate where, they're in flight mode. But I want to get a little bit of stretchy trot first. There you go. Very good girl. And then from there, we're going to see what we have. And pass auf. Good girl. Come. And canter. Good. So, very nice and mellow. And I'm going to make sure that we don't have too much of that before it gets too animated. And trot. Good girl. And walk. Very good girl. So I'm going to bring her to a halt here. Very good girl. And we'll change directions. So my good girl. Come here. So, very nice. And we'll do a little bit to this side. This is the harder side for her, where she has a little bit more tension when it comes to the canter. So we're just going to go and see where we're at with all of that today. Nothing heroic needs to happen, of course. Give her a moment to go and collect herself mentally, walk and breath, mentally and breath-wise. Always important that we give the horse a chance to regulate their own adrenaline levels and not just go from one thing to another and rush, rush, rush and quick, quick, quick. They understand that. They have a sense of how urgent we are with our inquiries and our invitations. And I think it's really important that, especially with a horse that is guarded and has learned to protect herself, that we say, how about this? And then can we have a little bit more? And then if it is a yes to that, good. If it's a no, we'll see about it. But there's never an urgency. It's never a you have to do it or else kind of thinking or acting on my end, right? So I'm going to go back into the trot. Come and trot. Come on, Sable, come. Good girl. So, out. Out, out. So. And again, a little bit of stretchy trot would be nice first. So, we'll have to have that, so that we know that we have not too much tension in the rest of the body. So, good girl. So, it's fine. There you go. Very good girl. Just a little bit of that. Yeah, very good. Und pass auf, my good girl. Pass auf. Und canter. Come. Come. So, there's a little bit of cross canter, which she immediately corrected, which is so nice. So, good girl. So, good girl. So, and trot. And walk. So, it's good. So, there I have it again. Very nice, agreeable, walk, trot, canter. And then trot into walk again. And then we're going to just do it one more time. See how she feels about it one more time. Come and trot. Trot, Sable, good girl. Out, so, good girl. So, first a stretchy trot. Nice release in the jaw. She's licking and chewing. There's a really good production of saliva in her mouth that I can see. I love that. So I'm going to always put her onto a little bit smaller circle for the up transition. It'll make it easier for her to pick up the correct lead. So pass off, and come, hop. Now we'll try that again. Come. So good girl. So, and as you can tell, I'm very quiet with my voice commands and the kissing for the canter, because she takes things sometimes very quickly up to the highest level. Good girl, and trot and walk. And so she's now offering those transitions by herself, which is lovely. And she's itchy, and I can totally see that she's wanting to stop, and that has to be allowed again. I always say, how about, imagine you as a rider have to ride with a fly on your nose. You wouldn't be able to pay attention to much at all. And flies are bad today. We have tons of fly spray on us, both of us, but this is it. We have to deal with the situation that it is right now. And so I'm going to let her walk it off for a moment. And then we're going to go and see how she feels about me coming onto the saddle with her. Very good girl. My very good girl. You get a little sugar. Always a little reward. And then we'll go to the next step. So I just got on Sable. I just wanted you to see it from the very beginning. I literally am like 10-15 minutes away from the mounting block, which she let me do very nicely. And I'm just standing here letting her feel me for a moment. And just wanted to relax and just feel my weight a little bit up here, rocking her a little bit. You can see in her ears how she's sort of mildly interested in that, not so sure. I'm just going to let her know my legs are here, very friendly, very loose. Flies are terrible. And then we're going to go into just a few steps of very simple, little bit of shoulder to shoulder walk if we can. So, and I'm going to give her gentle but very sort of friendly left-right leg input, a little bit of shoulder to shoulder, and I'm going to put myself into that same space where we were just a moment ago. Horses always relate things to spatial, components. And so I'm hoping that as I'm riding on the same big 20-meter circle approximately as we have been on the lunge line, that she will kind of associate this lunge circle and the experience that she had on the lunge line with me on her back as something positive and something not to worry about. And I can definitely feel how her walk steps are a little bit tentative. You can probably see it. My shoulder to shoulder movements are just there to say to her, hey, look, I'm with you. I'm following your motion. I'm not even really trying to influence it other than in the mildest way that I'm saying, let's go walk on the circle here. And I can tell how she's like tuning in and out of me and then back into, whatever else might be going on. And you can see the tail is starting to swoosh. And just so that everybody understands and who hasn't watched the previous videos, we have had a really extensive health checkup. There are no problems with her back or her ulcers. She has very, very mild ulcers, and she is on medication for that. She doesn't have any problems with her ovaries. And overall, from what I've seen so far, there shouldn't really be a whole lot of, other than sort of the discomfort that she's anticipating and the tension that she may create for herself. There should not be a great deal of discomfort in the way that I'm sitting on her and that I'm asking her to go forward. And you can possibly see this. I'm really taking my legs off at each stride so that there's a very minimal contact going on. I'm going to change directions here through the center of the circle. And this is what I call stick legs on a horse. Right now, the way she moves is so tentative. It feels as if she's not even really bending the joints in her legs from what I can tell up here. And of course she does. But it feels so like, oh my God, she's like saying to me with her body language and the way she's moving, I'm not so sure about all this. Is this really all you want from me? And I'm going to just say to her, shoulder to shoulder, lower legs friendly, yes, all I would like for you is a little bit of walk into this direction here on this circle, on this circular space where nothing really bad has happened to you and where we are coming to agreements, where I extend invitations and you can say yes, no, or maybe to them. And I'm hoping that over time we get more yeses than nos and maybe the occasional maybe. But this is all really I want her to feel today. I'm not going to force her to do anything more than just maybe one more round. And I can tell even just by how she comes and goes in and out of a little bit more relaxed movement. Now it's starting to feel a little bit more relaxed here for a moment. And I take my legs off. I'm so ready to take both legs off in case she would really resist and stop or really become sort of unhappy underneath me. I want this first impression to be as if I'm starting a horse that has never had a rider on her or him, right? And just as much as she's allowing this to me now, I'm allowing her to just experience this. And we're going to come to a halt here, just from me breathing out, closing my knees for a moment. I'm going to stand here, pet her for a moment, and let her process that I'm still on her. And then I'm going to get off. And yes, I know there will be people who say, oh, is that all? Is that all you're going to do? Yes, it's all I'm going to do. It's all that we need for today. And we will build on that in little micro agreements and little steps. And I think that's the way forward, and Sable will let us know. So I thank you guys for watching. Hope this is inspirational in some way or another. And I wish you a happy day and happy riding. Okay, let's see here. Slowly coming off. And there we are. Good girl. Yes, you get a little piece of sugar. There you go. Very, very good. This is off.